All right, guys, enough politics. We're getting back to guns. And this is the gun I'm going to talk about today, my Glock 34 Gen 5 MOS build. Let's get to it. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you did not already know, my name's Jay Casa, and I am just a red-blooded American patriot, like many of you, living behind enemy lines, some would say, here in the great state of New Jersey. And if you get value after watching this video, please do me a favor and hit that like button down below. It truly helps me grow the channel. Also consider subscribing, because we are building a tight-knit community here of like-minded individuals who are looking to fight for, protect, and defend our Second Amendment rights here in the great state of New Jersey, as well as other blue states like it. So if that interests you, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you can stay up to date on my weekly videos. And speaking of this community that we are all building together, I wanted to thank you guys so much, all of you who came out to Gun for Hire a couple weeks ago. I was there registering voters with early vote action. I will actually be there again this weekend to do the same, as well as partner up with the New Jersey Firearms Owners Syndicate, which I'm sure many of you already know what that is. But if you don't know what it is, the New Jersey Firearm Owners Syndicate is a nonprofit organization here in New Jersey that is dedicated to helping elect pro-2A candidates like myself in this election cycle and going forward. They also have an excellent Facebook group, so definitely check it out and join if you have not done so already. I'll put a link to that in the description box down below. Anyway, let's get to my gun, my build, as they say. I'm gonna go over what I use this gun for, why I picked the Glock 34 over other options that I had, why I picked the accessories that I did, and what I would do differently if I can go back in time, if anything. So first, what I actually used this gun for. Just a little bit of background. I bought this gun a while back just simply because I had an extra pistol permit to purchase here in the great state of New Jersey that I did not use and I did not want to waste. We all know how that goes. I wanted to use it originally for a home defense gun, and that's what I did for quite a while. It's been sitting next to my bedside for years. But once I started to actually take shooting and training more seriously, which kind of coincided with the building up of this channel, I could have used one of my more carry-friendly options that I have, something similar to this, of course, like a Glock 19. But there's something about these Glock 34s that I always thought was freaking awesome. I have to be honest with you. I love how they look, I love how they shoot, and it made me want to get it out of the bedside safe and get it onto the range and put it through as much use as I possibly can. Now, let's go over the features and accessories of this Glock 34. As I mentioned, it is a Gen 5 model and an MOS model as well. I added a Trijicon SRO. It is the 5 MOA version, and I love it, to be honest with you. I find it very, very easy with the size of the reticle as well as the size of this window to find that reticle and acquire my sight right away. Much, much better than the RMR. It's almost like a cheat code, to be honest with you. Although it's not nearly as rugged, of course, as your tried and true RMR or even the newer RMR HD, the window size on this is absolutely outstanding to shoot with. Now, would I depend my life on it? To an extent. But if you don't have to depend your life on it, this is an excellent, excellent option. The window size compared to the RMR, I don't know the exact numbers, but it's not even remotely close to the same size. I also added these Talon grips because I have super sweaty hands, and when I shoot for a handful, a little while, my hands get very, very, very sweaty. And I just lose my grip and I lose confidence in my grip. These help me a ton. They have a few different versions. They have this version, which is super rough. It's something that I would not recommend for a carry gun at all because it'll rip your skin apart. They also have a rubber version for more carry friendly, I guess, and then something in the middle. I forget the names of all these things, but for 20 bucks or whatever, compared to the hundreds that it would cost to get it stippled, and obviously, of course, it is reversible. If you don't like it, you can just rip it right off, which you can't do with stippling. I would definitely recommend these Talon grips. I haven't put that many rounds to it, so we'll see how long it actually lasts, but I'm looking forward to using it more and more. And honestly, it was very easy to install, and when I need to get a new one, I'll just spend another $20 and put another set of grips right on it. And lastly, of course, the tried and true Surefire X300 Ultra. We all know about these, not much else to say. I got the the A version instead of the B, which I don't love because it kind of wobbles around a little bit more, but it's easy to take on and off. More on that in a little bit. And lastly, the outside the waistband holster that I've been using and training with for this firearm is the T-Rex Arms Ragnarok holster with a QLS fork in order to take it on and off and switch between belts, and a matching T-Rex Arms thigh strap. So why did I pick this Glock 34 over other options? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I already had it next to my bed. I figured I wanted to keep my carry guns. Now, of course, you could shoot something similar to this outside the waistband with no issue at all. Do not go buy more guns just for the sake of buying more guns. I've already made a video on this that some people gave me shit for, but I'm still gonna stick to it. If this is your only gun, just get an outside the waistband holster just for this and use it and abuse it and learn about the gun. But like I said, I already had this. I blame the state of New Jersey for the reason that I have this, and I just wanted to use it because I think they're really cool looking. And obviously the extra frame length on the 17 and 34 size frame really helps with, you know, obviously the grip compared to a Glock 19 size weapon. I didn't want to buy any more guns, obviously, so it came down to either this Glock 34 or a Glock 17 Gen 3 that I already had as well. Both of them are, of course, very similar. They have the same frame length. The only major difference is the slide and the barrel length. I don't know the actual length difference off the top of my head. There is a good amount of extra barrel length on this weapon compared to the Glock 17. Now, the Glock 34 is more known for competition use, and the Glock 17 is like the OG duty-style Glock, as we all know. Now, let's talk about that barrel length a little bit. The reason why it was so common competition-wise is because without a red dot, it kind of gives you just somewhat advantage with that extra barrel length with the sights. You can get a little bit more accurate lining up the iron sights. That being said, if you're using a red dot, that advantage is very quickly minimized to almost nothing. But regardless, I still like the extra barrel length, and I'm going to tell you why. I find that when I shoot this thing, the extra barrel length and the extra weight on the nose kind of keeps it very stable when I'm shooting, especially like hammer fire. And it makes it very, very easy, along with this SRO big window that I have here, very easy to keep that reticle on target. So even though the Glock 34 is more known for competition shooting, like USPSA, I just use this thing for training and training courses and tactical courses. That being said, I still decided to go with the Glock 34 over the Glock 17 for a few specific reasons. Number one was the MOS system that this one had over the 17. I know many of you have like a love or hate relationship with the Glock MOS system. It's not perfect. There are other better options out there, and it pales in comparison to like a direct optic cut that you can go get. But frankly, I had this SRO ready to go. It was just easier and simpler for me to pop this thing on and get started shooting and training, which is what I decided to do before putting more money into the 17 to send the slide off and get it cut. And I didn't know exactly what I wanted to get it cut for anyway. You know the whole drill. So the MOS system kept it very easy for me to just get started. And sometimes that's half the battle in life, right? The second reason I went with this Glock 34 over that Glock 17 is the Gen 5 features. This is a Gen 5. The 17 is a Gen 3. Many people love the Gen 3. Many people think it's the best Glock generation ever made, and I love the Gen 3 too. You could shoot perfectly well with a Gen 3 Glock, and they're still making them because of California's stupid anti-Second Amendment approved gun list that they have. You can shoot both the Gen 3 and the Gen 5 with no issue at all, but there are a couple key differences. The first key difference is these back straps. Now, I don't use the back straps, but if you have a bigger size hand than average, you may want to check it out. I haven't really played around with it too much yet, but some people, especially on these Glock 34s, like the one with the beaver tail on it, especially if you get that Glock bite on the webbing of your fingers in between your thumb. That is something, because you can't get the back straps on the Gen 3 and you can on the Gen 4 and the Gen 5. Another key difference, and the biggest difference in my opinion, is this mag release right here. This larger mag release on the Gen 4 and the Gen 5 is substantially better than what the Gen 3 has. That mag release is just too small on the Gen 3 in my opinion. I'm sure I could train with it and get very proficient with it, as many people already have, but once you go with the larger extended mag release here that the Gen 4 and Gen 5 has, I just didn't want to go back to a smaller mag release. And the last reason that I went with this is because of this light, actually, the Surefire X300 light. As we all know, the X300 by Surefire is a very heavily tried and true, battle-tested weapon-mounted light that a lot of people put on a lot of different firearms. But I always wondered, like, if you're gonna put this size light on a gun, why not have the extra barrel length to go along with it? What's the point of having just the light protrude from a Glock 19 or a Glock 45 or whatever without that extra barrel length? So I figured with the Glock 34 and the X300, if you're gonna match it up with an X300, you may as well have that 5¼ inch barrel length that the Glock 34 provides. I mean, it matches up almost precisely with the end of the barrel, and believe it or not, the fact that the round is coming, or the projectile, the bullet, is coming out of the barrel right here instead of behind the light, it cuts down a lot on the amount of carbon buildup that builds up on this light. I rarely have to wipe this thing off at all. Not a huge issue either way, but something to consider. So what do I like about this Glock 34 Gen 5 MOS that I put together here? Honestly, this is an extremely, extremely smooth shooter for what I need it to do. Because even though the extra slide and barrel length doesn't help me with the iron sights, because I'm using a red dot anyway, the weight on the nose of the firearm just helps me really keep it down, especially during hammer fire. With very minimal recoil, this thing shoots with less recoil than any other polymer framed Striker 5 pistol that I've shot in the past. And the reason is simply because of the barrel length and the weight on the front of the gun. This gets even more obvious with the X300 light on the front of the gun as well. It keeps the front of that gun just super stable and very little recoil, and it allows you to acquire and keep that reticle, that dot on your target, no matter what you're doing with the trigger, which is, of course, what precisely we're aiming for, no pun intended, every time we shoot. That being said, this gun is not perfect. Nothing is. And I think if I could go back in time, I probably would not have this light on it. Frankly, sometimes it's a little bit too much, especially when I'm trying to get it out of my holster quicker. Sometimes I don't get it out as quick as I would like to, and I'm not at the point yet where I'm being timed on a draw, but when I do get to that point, it may be something that I will consider taking off in order to get a quicker draw time. This is a very, very common USPSA or competition shooting setup right here without the light. So once that happens, I'll probably relegate this to just competition shooting, and then I'll put this light on that Glock 17 that I had, and oh, I gotta get another optic, right? And then I have to get it cut for that optic, and new Glock 17 Gen 3 builds coming soon on YouTube. If you wanna keep track, subscribe down below, I appreciate it. That is it for today, guys. Let me know what you think about this build that I put together. If you have any experience with any of the, like the light, the SRO, or even a Glock 34, let me know in that comment section down below. If you don't already follow me on Instagram and on X, go follow me right now at JCossUSA. The reason you want to follow me is because I'm putting a lot of stuff on those other two platforms, and it's just an easier way for all of us to kind of congregate and continue to build that community of like-minded individuals here in the great state of New Jersey, as well as other blue states like it, with our Second Amendment rights on the line. I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in, and I will see you next time.